Note the way a dark shadow steals across the foreground, literally overshadowing Phocian's widow. Then let your eye wander into the grove at the right, where you will find a figure furtively spying on the two women. Then continue down the path, past figures enjoying a day in the meadows. Continue past that fortress-like construction, where there is a horse being groomed outside of a stable, and then meander alongside the lake, where you will find men in a game of archery, or, farther along, men swimming, and here's the target for the archers. Go up the stairs, past this building, in whose openings are potted plants coming into flower, people making their way up finally to the portico of the temple, where they wander beneath its noble facade, which is patterned on a building designed by Palladio. Poussin uses the same approach in telling his story of Orpheus and Eurydice. Eurydice is here, her arms raised in fear, her head turned, observing a viper that has just crawled out of a hole. The only person aware that something has broken the serenity of the day is the fisherman. He, of course, does not see the snake, but he sees her response. Orpheus, meanwhile, is completely enraptured with his own song, as are those around him, and once again a shadow falls across them, portending evil in Arcadia, as does the great building of the Castel San Angelo, which is on fire, the clouds rising, casting the whole of the distance into shadow, where men are swimming or walking in the background. In pictures like these, I'm reminded of that powerful, I think really nightmarish scene in Alfred Hitchcock's 1972 movie Frenzy, a movie which I can't even watch anymore, in which, following the murder of a woman in a rented bedroom by a serial killer, I'm sure many of you have seen this, the camera withdraws from the scene, leaving the room, backing down the stairs into the streets of a completely indifferent world where the activities of everyday life continue as though nothing whatever happened. It's completely unsettling. The sequence shakes to the roots the pieties that we all mutter about the sacredness of life and the importance of the individual, and a horrific crime and its innocent victim become merely a statistic of contemporary life. Poussin creates an Arcadian vision only to insist that even there, death is inescapable. Et in Arcadia ego. I too, that is death, am in Arcadia. And one of the most beautiful pictures early on in the exhibition is this one, in which the Arcadian shepherds in the mythical land of Arcady happen upon a tomb in which the letters Et in Arcadia ego, I too, death am in Arcadia, are deciphered by one of them. In 1648, Poussin wrote to a well-placed patron and a friend in Paris that he still hoped to paint some stories that would show, and I quote, the strangest twists fate has ever visited on men, especially those who mocked it. These examples would not be haphazard or casual, but would remind those who see them of the virtue and wisdom one must acquire to stand firm against the efforts of that blind, mad woman, fate. He felt there was no escaping what he called the storms of fortune. The only posture was one of detached acceptance of the realities of life, and we sense really a man who has lived through a great deal and somebody who was living in a Europe in turmoil, in which security seemed a vision of the past. Poussin intended his landscapes to enrapture us with their Arcadian beauty, their recreation of a lost world, but he intended them also to involve us on a deeply human level. And it's this, I think, that sets him apart from so many other great landscape painters in Western art, and it's why I think that this exhibition repays such detailed study. Now, I just wanted to remind you of a few things. The Arcadian Shepherds is the pendant to our own painting of Midas washing at the source of the Pactolus. This is the first Poussin to have entered into an American collection. It was part of the 1871 purchase, our first purchase. And secondly, there is in the exhibition the opportunity to see for the first time anywhere since 1934 a picture that Poussin painted around 1650, and that was called nicknamed La Solitude. It's from Belgrade in Serbia. This is a very bad image of it before restoration by Michael Gallagher in conservation. It underwent treatment here for 8 months and has emerged this extraordinarily beautiful picture, one that is original on all kinds of levels, not least the fact that the entire 2/3 of the picture is engulfed in shadow. We're below the hills, and hills inspired by Tivoli. The Anio River flows. Some Franciscan monks are in the foreground, and it's only in the background that we find this beautiful light playing across the mountains and distant city. In the exhibition also is a drawing that has only newly been identified as a study for this picture. So these are all some of the things that you can see in this exhibition upstairs. And I just wanted to mention that in conjunction with this picture, we have this really very moving note from one of Poussin's biographers named Philibien, who knew Poussin personally, who watched him paint, and who actually took up the brush under Poussin's direction. He says, about that solitude, that solitude owned by Monsieur de Haute-Rive, in which monks are seated on the ground listening to a reading. Doesn't it give rise to a certain repose to the soul, so that one wants to enjoy a tranquility similar to that of the monks who find themselves in such a peaceful and charming place? What's so remarkable is that he lauds the picture for its emotional effect on the viewer, something we associate with Romanticism. It's one of the reasons the Romantic painters responded so strongly to Poussin. Indeed, Philibien suggests that in its power to create a mood, Poussin's painting approaches music. As for the interest in tranquility, it was the one thing that Poussin valued above all else in his life. So I would encourage you to go up and visit the exhibition, sit in front of the pictures, imaginatively perambulate in them, and enjoy yourselves. Thank you very much.